Welcome back, Miss Spear here. We have Milo on this side today, and I think Ollie's a little off screen. You might just see his head right now. There you are, Ollie. He's trying to keep his hay as far away from Milo as he can today. Doesn't want him to come over and do any snacking. Wants it all to himself. Well, welcome back, friends. Happy Friday. And today, we're going to get a chance to read the next chapter in Ralph S. Mouse and find out more about how things are going for Ralph at school. If you remember where we left off, there were some big problems brewing between Ryan and Ralph. Ryan, now that Ralph had shown himself in the classroom, wanted Ralph to be able to show just how smart he was. But Ralph is feeling pretty bashful, pretty worried about this. That's putting him on the spot, and he isn't sure just how smart he is, or isn't even sure he should have to prove that either. So today, we'll see how they left it off, because if you remember, no race for Ralph meant no motorcycle for Ralph too. Some big decisions. Chapter 4 is entitled Life at School. Dusk began to fall in room 5, making the inside of Melissa's boot even darker, when suddenly Ralph heard music. The lights were turned on, and a man with a radio fastened to his belt came into the room and lifted the chairs onto the tables. Now pause there for a second. A man with a radio on his belt. That is not something we usually experience today. But remember, this book was written, let me get you the exact copyright date, back in 1982. So in 1982, it would have been pretty every day to see someone come in with a little mini radio on their belt, ready to listen to some tunes. Now, we have it on our phones, or we have our different players, or we might even just have the headphones because it's wireless. Things have changed a lot since this book was written. Okay, in comes a man, turns on the lights, and he starts off to work. I wonder who he might be. He began to sweep with a wide broom while the radio poured forth sad songs about lonely highways, broken hearts, and jail. The songs made Ralph feel gloomy as well as sulky. He began to feel sorry for himself. The long hall was so perfect for motorcycle riding. It was dark and empty, and his heart was broken over the loss of his motorcycle. He might as well be in jail as in this old boot. When the man swept his way to the back of the room, he unexpectedly set Melissa's boots upright, side by side, tumbling Ralph down to the foot, where he sat trembling with nerves and self-pity, until his ears told him that the man had replaced the chairs back on the floor and had turned off the lights and left. Have you figured out who that is? Coming in, sweeping around the classroom? We know. Because he was a mouse, Ralph found sleeping at night almost impossible. With the grandfather clock to mark the hours, without the grandfather clock to mark the hours, the night seemed endless. Why should I have to sit here in this smelly old jail of a boot when everyone is so mean to me? Ralph asked himself. And with the cruelty of the world as an excuse for breaking his promise to Ryan, he used his sharp claws to climb the boot's lining. Quickly, he leapt out and squeezed under the door of room 5. Nobody was going to stop him from exploring the Irwin J. Sneed Elementary School. After a long and wistful look at the lonely highway of the hall, Ralph found exploration more interesting and profitable than he had expected. In room 4, he discovered strange-looking pictures spread out on the floor and beneath the chalkboard. They were made by gluing different kinds of seeds to heavy paper and had been left on the floor to dry. Ralph made a nutritious meal of split peas, rice, and lentils before moving on to another room where he found an open jar of library glue. Delicious! Another room, furnished with long tables and benches, was near a kitchen where Ralph chewed into a bag of sugar and enjoyed a fine dessert. Ooh, straight up sugar. After this gourmet meal, Ralph walked rather than scampered down the hall, that perfect place for riding his motorcycle, if Ryan had not been so mean, to a room with a carpet with bookshelves about the walls. A carpet, lots of bookshelves. A boring place for a mouse, Ralph decided, until he discovered something interesting on a bottom shelf behind a really big desk. It turned out to be a book inside of a bag made of 2 layers of brown paper. A tear in the outer layer revealed something unexpected in the lining. Ralph could not believe the treasure he had found. Between the layers of paper was a ready-chewed mouse nest. Ralph pulled out some of the nest to examine its delicate texture. First quality, grade A mouse nest. He made the hole in the bag still larger, crawled inside, and curled up in the coziest bed he'd ever known. Ralph intended to rest there while he plotted to get his motorcycle away from Ryan, but his full meal made him drowsy, and instead he went ahead and just fell asleep completely. Awakening to the sound of school buses, he ran back to room 5 just in time as his former friend was hanging up his jacket. Ralph ran up the leg of Ryan's jeans and onto his shirt. "You give me my motorcycle!" Kind of like my friends here with their hay. No demanding, no being a mouse. "You give me my motorcycle," he demanded, trying to sound fierce. Ryan quickly faced the corner so no one would see Ralph. "Be quiet. You're not supposed to be here," he whispered. "Like I said, I will give it to you after you run the maze." "Who says I'm gonna run it?" Ralph was sullen about this whole affair. "I do." Ryan tried to speak without moving his lips. "If you want your motorcycle back." "Where is it?" Ralph wanted to know. "Right here." Ryan removed the motorcycle from his jacket pocket and placed it in one of his shirt pockets. "Now, go back to your boot." That wasn't very friendly. "Don't call it my boot," said Ralph. "It's dusty and smelly and Melissa's." "Will you be quiet if I let you stay in my pocket?" Sure. A shirt was warm and soft and had a good view of the classroom if a hole had been nipped in the pocket. As he dropped Ralph into his pocket, Ryan said, and another thing, don't chew any more holes in my pockets. Mom didn't like it when she saw holes in the new shirt I wore yesterday." "We'll see about that," thought Ralph, determined not to let the lub-dub of Ryan's heart lull him to sleep again until he figured out how to get that motorcycle back. For a better view of room 5, he bit a careful peephole, one thread down and one thread across in Ryan's pocket. Hopefully Mom won't notice now. Ralph watched with puzzled interest while the class worked with numbers and words. Late in the morning, the children formed a double line, something Ralph had never witnessed, and walked quietly to the library where they selected books to read. Why can't mice behave like that? Ralph wondered. When Ryan found the book he wanted, he took the little red motorcycle out of his pocket and amused himself by running it back and forth across the table while gently going, "Motorcycle noise, please." The sound was enough to break a mouse's heart. The most interesting part of the day turned out to be late in the afternoon when the class worked on their projects for what the children called, not that, they didn't call it that, for what the children called the Great Mouse Exhibit. Miss Kay read a poem that Ralph found difficult to understand. Something about a wee, sleekit, cowering, timorous beastie, while the class worked with crayons and paper. Ralph saw strange pictures of himself beginning to emerge. They were making him look very big, except for one boy who drew a cat that filled up the whole paper. Except for one boy who drew a cat that filled up the whole paper and then added a tiny mouse down in one corner. Sorry, lost my place. Other boys and girls bent over their paper, writing, pausing to gnaw on their pencils, and writing again. Others behaved strangely, nodding their heads, tapping their pencils, and softly chanting ta-dum, 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 or ta-ta-dum, ta-ta-dum. The noises sounded something like an Indian war dance in an old movie on TV, thought Ralph, puzzled. Ryan and Brad worked with glue and some old cartons on a table at the back of the room. They moved around so much, and Ralph's peephole was so small, he could not get a very clear idea of what they were building. Apparently, they did not have a very clear idea themselves because they argued about the way to make the partitions of the maze stand up. They argued about the height of the partitions. We don't want him to be able to see over them, even if he stands on his hind legs. And they argued about the length and number of the blind alleys, too. Mostly, they also argued about the difficulty of the maze. Sounds like it's going well. "Let's make it really hard," said Brad. Ralph decided that he did not like Brad with his tasseled hair, grubby t-shirt, and unfriendly ways. "You're going to help me read? You have to be a helper, though." Not too hard, said Ryan. Aw, come on, said Brad. Making tunnels and trapdoors will be fun. Real mazes aren't like that, and it just wouldn't be fair, protested Ryan. He's just a little mouse. Besides, we haven't figured out how to make the partition stand up anyway. You're scared he can't do it, said Brad. Of course he can do it, said Ryan, who was at least loyal. But what if I can't do it? Ralph worried. What if I run around bumping my nose against the dead ends? Then how would Ryan feel after all his bragging? A terrible thought occurred to Ralph. If he failed and everyone laughed, Ryan might not give back the motorcycle at all. Ralph decided there was only one thing to do. Get up on that table at night and practice. He would memorize the maze so that he could dash through the passages without bumping his nose even once. What do you think? Good idea or cheating? Ralph had no sooner made this decision than part of the maze must have fallen down, for Ryan said, "See, I told you it wouldn't work that way." Brad lost his patience. "All right," he said. "Since you're so smart, you can make your own maze for your own mouse. I'll write a poem instead." "But you don't like to write poems." "Oh, I can't believe it. Don't listen, my friends." Ryan reminded him. "I'd rather write a poem than work on your maze for your mouse," said Brad. "His name should be, I don't know, something other than S for smart." "Okay," said Ryan. "Suit yourself, but I don't see why you have to be so touchy about it." Good thought, Ralph. Ryan will take it easy. When the last bell rang, Ryan asked permission to work on the maze at home because he still hadn't figured out how to make the partition stand up. "Of course you may," Miss Kay told him, thereby destroying Ralph's plan to practice at night. "I hoped you and Brad might become friends if you worked together on this." She raised her voice above the scramble for jackets and caps. "Class, I have a surprise," she announced. "Someone who writes stories for the Cucaracha Voice newspaper heard about our mouse exhibit and wants to write up something for the paper this week. She is going to come on Friday afternoon and bring a photographer." Cucaracha, although it had grown since the Gold Rush days, was still a very small town. News traveled fast. You excited? You're ready for your big moment with the newspaper? You're bringing some shavings with you too? Okay. There was a buzz of excitement. Room 5 was going to have its picture in the newspaper. Are you excited too? Ollie loves his picture. Don't you? When Ryan plucked Ralph from his pocket, Ralph asked in his tiniest voice, "Do I get a chance to practice running through that thing before Friday?" "That would be cheating," Ryan said through stiff lips. "The same thing as looking at a test question before a test." "Just one little peek," coaxed Ralph. "Nope." Ryan poked Ralph into Melissa's boot and ran off to catch the bus. Ralph crawled down along behind the bend of the toe of the boot, where he sat brooding in the dusty, musty dark. For the first time since he had left the inn, he began to wonder if anyone missed him back at his old home. I don't know. What do you think, buddy? He's deep in thought. And eating my book. No eating my book. All right, friends, I'll leave you hanging there. And chapter 5 is going to be titled The Great Mouse Exhibit. The Great Mouse Exhibit. I'll stop us there for today. I thought we might finish, too, with a little donkey snack. Anybody want a carrot to finish up our story today? Ollie, did you want one? Milo? Anybody? Carrot? They're too busy sniffing the ground. They're not sniffing my carrots. Here you go. Here you go, Milo. Here. Look at that dusty mouth. Here's your carrot. There you go. I knew you would love that. All right, friends, I'll leave you off there. Hopefully, just as our donkeys had some treats today, you're taking some time to treat yourself and your family and to help out one another. We are going to have some more fun surprises. I'm trying to peek around Ollie here. Excuse me, may I share the camera? We'll have some more fun surprises coming up next week as well, so don't forget to check back on our Google Classroom too. Have a great weekend, my friends. Get outside, have some fun, and I'll see you again on Monday. Bye, everyone.